welcome to ABC News GH. This is ABC Headlines. I am Abuna Mante. Coming up in the headlines, the West Africa Network for Peace Building, WANEP, has commended President Mahama's efforts in resolving the long-standing conflict in Boko by making steps to involve pivotal chiefs. Following a communique directing all diplomatic officers to return their passports, the Foreign Affairs Ministry is out with the list of all holders. We have these and more coming up in the headlines. Stay tuned. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration has announced the directive for the recall of diplomatic and service passports issued during the previous administration, specifically naming a broad range of former officials and other individuals required to return their travel documents. In a public announcement, the ministry outlined the exercise mandated by the Office of the President aims to ensure compliance with current eligibility criteria for official passports and prevent potential misuse. Named categories for passport recall, the directive identifies the following groups as being required to submit their diplomatic and service passports by Friday, January 24, 2025. Former ministers and their spouses, former members of parliament across all political affiliations, retired justices of the superior and lower courts, former regional ministers, metropolitan, municipal, and district chief executives, chief executive officers of state institutions, chairs and board and members of boards, officials of the National Cathedral Project, former political ambassadors and their dependents, business persons, religious leaders, and traditional leaders, other former government functionaries no longer serving in official roles. The ministry clarified that the recall applies to all individuals holding diplomatic and service passports who do not meet the eligibility requirements under the Passports and Travel Certificates Act 1967, NLCD 155. Objectives of the recall. In its statements, the ministry highlighted the need for the exercise to safeguard the integrity of Ghana's official travel documents. The announcement stated the recall exercise is to ensure a review of all diplomatic and service passports in line with the current eligibility criteria for issuance. It is further aimed at preventing misuse and safeguarding the integrity of the diplomatic and service passports. The Prime Minister of Mali, General Abdoulaye Maiga, has arrived in Ghana for an official visit. He was welcomed at the airport by a high-level government delegation, including Marietta Brew, the legal advisor to the president. The purpose of his visit is to engage in discussions with President John Dramani Mahama regarding the strengthening of bilateral agreements between the two countries. The talks are expected to focus on areas of mutual interest, including trade, security, and regional cooperation. Prime Minister Maiga is scheduled to meet with President Mahama on Thursday to discuss a message from President Goita. Apologize for that hitch in the sound. Away from that, President John Dramani Mahama is set to visit the Asante and Otumfuo Osei Tutu II this weekend as part of his ongoing mediation efforts to secure lasting peace in Boko in the Upper East region. President John Dramani Mahama undertook a critical peace-building mission to Boko and Nalerigu on Tuesday, January 14. The visit underscored the president's unwavering commitment to resolving the protracted conflict in Boko, which has plagued the region for decades. During his visit to the overlord of the Mampugu Kingdom, Nabo Haga Mahami Abdullah Sheriga II, President Mahama reiterated his government's dedication to prioritizing peace. President Mahama emphasized the need to visit the Asante-Hene Otumfuo Osei Tutu II on January 19, since the Asante-Hene played an essential role in resolving the Dagbon conflict.
Appeal to him to exercise restraint and patience, and his subjects to exercise restraint and patience, and trust that we'll resolve this matter amicably.
Na nero zugu wanchana ma uchana no susi epa hansuguru epunya suguru dana ni epa hansuguru kayari eda damaza atensema na dema na chimma iyel sokanza ne ba pa suguru suguru yi chanala enyala banyangan pia bokomo to amana ka amali zugu uchana no suhla suhduama eto ante sokamza ka kar beni ka sokamza na disuguru unya suru nyangan pia to amani.
I'm in the process of forming my government, so I'm just appealing to my father that they should exercise patience while I set up the government.
Na zugu ngonna binyangan yiso ba yasungu tumama okuchana no susini ke malahbari muziki bia suhduamani dama karanya alkauli na enen yiko kunyanga yisu ministers maza bani ya songu kunyanga tumtumama kasudo achana.
And so as soon as that is done, we might have to invite my father, but I cannot sit in Accra and invite him. I have to come and alert him in advance that an invitation like that will come. In my last briefing with Nana Akufo-Addo before he left office, he briefed me about some mediation efforts that they were undertaking. I wish to be able to discuss it with him and see how we can continue that effort.
Now, one day, do I, President Nana Akufo-Addo, to government Kuruso one Zantuma, one day di Boko Azama, ko yellow one pumpili shame, the Zogo one yellow shame, Kabelo Hankalene, 9 yiko, ko jene, unumbori ke ichana, Uzang la Azamandi, Kenya Yenanga Wula, Kasudracha, Boko Nani Sulan Maza.
Appeal to him to exercise restraint and patience, and his subjects to exercise restraint and patience, and trust that we'll resolve this matter amicably.
Meanwhile, the National Coordinator for West African Network for Peace Building, WANEP Ghana, Albert Yelang, has emphasized the importance of involving the Asante-Hene Otumfuo Osei Tutu II in efforts to resolve the decade-long Boko chieftaincy conflict, reacting to President John Dramani Mahama's pledge to visit the Asante-Hene on 19th January to discuss a way forward on the Boko conflict. The conflict resolution expert stated that involving the well-respected king and other chiefs could prove pivotal in bringing lasting peace to the area. He spoke on ABC News GH.
We do have traditional processes that are also very important in addressing the matter in Boko. And again, if you recall, Otumfuo has a weight when it comes to traditional matters of traditional governance. And so you would say that in addressing matters relate to traditional leadership, he is somebody that can play a critical role. Now, Otumfuo played a role in the Dagbon conflict in addressing it, and I recall very well right from the beginning, and especially the last lap, where now we eventually resulted into the king being enskined in Dagbon, and there is some kind of stability in the area. So from that experience, I think that if he again is involved together with other prominent leaders, traditional leaders, there can be.
Still on the Boko conflict resolution expert and the national coordinator for ONEP, Albert Yelang, has advised the adoption of multiple approaches to addressing the Boko conflict. Speaking on ABC Prime, Mr. Albert Yelang stated that the nature of the conflict requires the government to adopt measures that will address both security and social concerns. According to him, the conflict has eaten into the fabric of the people and has brought impoverishment. Hence, any attempt to resolve the conflict should factor all of the concerns.
Adopt several approaches, multiple ones. Because at the moment, it is not all the parties who accept the Boko Naba, as the chief of the area. And so once there is a group that is dissenting in terms of who is the chief in the area, there is also, the chieftaincy is also related to land, So these are things that would require multiple approaches. And so much as governments would be playing key role, and I see that as setting the agenda or recommitting itself, renewing its commitment to addressing the Boko conflict, we would also expect that, there is a groundswell built by diplomacy, along the line.
Away from Boko, the National Democratic Congress, NDC, has filed a legal challenge against the results declared for the Obuasi East, Ahafo-Ano North and Ahafo-Ano Southwest parliamentary elections. The NDC's application seeks to overturn the declarations made by the Electoral Commission concerning the Obuasi East, Ahafo-Ano North and Ahafo-Ano Southwest constituencies. The party has committed to pursuing the case until what is considered justice is achieved. On December 21, 2024, the Electoral Commission officially declared the New Patriotic Party's Patrick Boachi Yadom, Eric Nana Ajaman Prempe, and Elvis Osei Mensah Dapa as the winners of the Obuasi East, Ahafo-Ano North and Ahafo-Ano Southwest parliamentary elections, following a recount and recollation process mandated by the High Court. Speaking to the media after an appearance as the Kumasi High Court's lead counsel for the NDC, Evans Amanka expressed resentment over the EC's decision to recollate results in the three constituencies. He expressed optimism in the NDC's application to overturn what he described as a travesty of justice.
For Obuasi East, I was there when the result was collated, and our Honorable Samuel Abuaje, who is right here with me, was declared the winner of that constituency. Now, when MPP was going to court for mandamus to compare the Electoral Commission to recollate some of the results and collate other results, Obuasi East was not part of it. So they knew very well that Obuasi East, they did not have a case. So they didn't go to court on that. So we don't know what kind of order the Electoral Commission has for them to recollate that result without recourse to us. Our candidate, nor the political party NDC in Ashanti region or national, was given any notice of any sort or any invitation for the collation of that result, the recollation of that result. And in any case, there is a precedent that has been set by the same Electoral Commission and the same Jane Mensah, who is sitting there. In the 2020 elections, Chachima and South, when MPP illegally declared the results for themselves, for we winning and killing people on top, people who were protesting, they were killed. When we wrote a petition through our then majority leader, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, to
Meanwhile, the National Democratic Congress NDC's parliamentary candidate for Obuasi East has expressed dissatisfaction with the Electoral Commission's recollation and redeclaration of the parliamentary results in favor of the NPP's candidate. Speaking to the media after a filing of an application to challenge the results, Samuel Abuaje noted that the will of Obuasi had been overturned by the Electoral Commission. He promised to do everything within the law to overturn the travesty of justice.
Came back to the High Court. Obuasi East wasn't mentioned. I initially wanted to join the case, but when I saw the nature of the application, I saw that I have facts, and I know around in 2020, I lost, and I ate a humble pie. But 2024, I know I won the Obuasi East parliamentary elections. 2020, when I was coming, the difference was 17,000. 2024, when we're going into the elections, the difference was 12,000. And the MPP knew they've lost the elections in advance. So going into that elections, I knew I was going to win. And I won the elections. But prior, during, and after the elections, it has all been intimidations. During the elections, it was my constituency. The military men invaded and attacked civilians and members of my party, to the extent that party executives and my personal security were being brutalized. During the collation center, we had some components of the Electoral Commission that did everything possible to change the will of the people of Obuasi East constituency. And the most painful thing is that institutions that are supposed to protect the democracy and the peace that we are enjoying in this country, it's so sudden that...
Away from election-related stories, former Chief of Defense Staff Brigadier General Nunu Mensah, retired, has criticized the National Democratic Congress's administration proposal to introduce free tuition for first-year tertiary students, describing it as a necessary expense. Speaking at a stakeholder engagement at the O'Reilly Senior High School on January 15, Brigadier General Nunu Mensah argued that parents, not the government, should bear the financial burden of tertiary education. Why pay for them? What is the essence of tertiary education? What is the use? You don't have to pay for it. Come on, it's not necessary, he stated. If someone wants to go to tertiary education, the parents should afford it because you don't need them anyway. I don't need them. They finish and then they will be roaming about in Accra finding jobs. They can't even produce solar energy to power lights for us. They can't do anything, so don't waste our money on them. He said this. Away from that, Member of Parliament for Bilsa South, Dr. Clement Apak, has reiterated the National Democratic Congress's commitment to delivering its free tuition policy for first-year students in public tertiary institutions. This statement comes amid criticism from some stakeholders, including former Chief of Defense Staff Brigadier General Nunu Mensah, retired, who recently questioned the policy's feasibility. Speaking during a stakeholder engagement at O'Reilly Senior High School, the retired Chief of Defense Staff suggested that parents should be prepared to shoulder the financial responsibilities of tertiary education. Responding to the concerns, Dr. Apak reaffirmed the NDC's resolve to fulfilling its campaign promises. That's all for the headlines this morning. ABC in the Morning comes up shortly. Stay with us.